Hi, this is Royce with Viking Wax Press and the Alternative Football Network. This video is another in my series ranking the helmets of alt football leagues throughout the years. Before I dive into it, here's how my helmet ratings work. I rank helmets based on the following categories: personal taste, logo, color scheme, uniqueness, legibility, use of space, and contrast. Each helmet will be ranked from 1 to 10 in these categories, with a maximum score of 70 possible. Tiebreakers will go to the team ranked highest in personal taste, then logo, and so on. Today, I'll rank the helmets of the Canadian Football League. The Canadian Football League has been around since 1958, so I'm not going to go all the way back, but I'll hit all the current designs and mix in other notable ones to cover the bases of every CFL team to play within the past 50 years. I ranked 27 total CFL helmets, so I'll start with the lowest ranked and move up from there. The Ottawa Renegades played from 2002 to 2005, and their logo kind of looks like moose droppings on a maple leaf. Total score, 17 out of 70 due to a poor design with lack of contrast. Next up, we have the Shreveport Pirates, who played from 1994 to 95. The only thing halfway decent with this helmet are the colors, but even the colors don't make me think of pirates. If anyone understands what the triangle in the design has to do with pirates, let me know in the comments. This one gets a 20 out of 70. The Sacramento Gold Miners played in the CFL in 93 and 94. The logo is a very tiny teal pickaxe striking gold. I know it was the 90s, but a teal pickaxe? There is far too much white, another color one does not associate with mining. Love the theme, hate the execution. 23 out of 70. At number 24, I've got the BC Lions. This is the current helmet of a team who's been around since the league's inception. The orange lioness head growing out of the letters B and C may be a classic for BC fans, but from more than 5 feet away, the BC gets lost in the black shell and the lioness head just looks like pumpkin splat. 24 out of 70. The Ottawa Rough Riders played from 58 through 96, and most of that time they just had a white R on their helmets. In 95 and 96, they sealed their fate with this logo. Not a terrible logo on its own, but it gets very hard to see on that black background. Ottawa eventually gets a new team, but the Rough Riders end up with a score of 25 out of 70 for the version they ended with. The 2023 Grey Cup winning Montreal Alouettes come in 22nd place. They have a logo that includes the same color as their helmet, and that lack of contrast drops this helmet down to below average. Fill in the logo with that red color and these rise significantly. 26 out of 70. In 2021, the CFL did something really cool and integrated indigenous art into their helmet designs and used them as alternates in some games. I love the idea and included them amongst my rankings. The indigenous design for the BC Lions suffers from the same problem as their base helmet. The logo is better, for sure, and the orange gained a more metallic sheen, but the BC still gets lost into the black, and the lioness head still becomes a blob from a distance. 27 out of 70. At rank 20, we have the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, not to be confused with the two-word Rough Riders from Ottawa. Another original CFL team, the Rough Riders from Saskatchewan get good marks for that clean green and white color combo, but the wheat field behind the S draws focus away from the S in both directions and gives me a mini headache. They should have stuck with this design they wore from 66 through 84. Today's version gets a 28 out of 70. In 19th place, I've got the Baltimore Stallions. They played in the CFL in 94 and 95 when the CFL was pushing southward expansion. They even won the Grey Cup in 95, the only Canadian team ever to win it. I like the dark blue on these helmets, which really stand out on the silver base, so high marks for contrast, but the floating horse head turning into a flag isn't my favorite. 29 out of 70 for this one. Pro football returned to Ottawa in 2014 with the oddly named Red Blacks, an homage to the colors of the previous Ottawa team, the Rough Riders. The Red Blacks inset a modern version of the Rough Riders R into an outline of a saw blade, a nod to the lumber industry the town is known for. Nice contrast, legibility, and a little help from the touch of red and the focal point of the saw blade bring this helmet to a 30 out of 70. The indigenous version of the Red Blacks helmet is not really an improvement. The artwork increases the uniqueness, but decreases the contrast. Like the basic Red Black helmet, this alt version also gets a 30 out of 70. In 1996, the CFL put an expansion team in Memphis and called them the Mad Dogs. The cartoony growl on these helmets is a bit childish, but also fun. The sandy brown fur stands out against the dark green, and the studded collar echoes the Mad Dog's warning. This comes in 16th place with a 32 out of 70. At 15, we have the San Antonio Texans, a CFL team in 1995. Where do I start with this one? I'll start with the bad. The bad is the unfinished look of the white shell. The bad is the white mustache on the cowboy character. The bad is the designer trying way too hard to incorporate a lone star into the design. Lose the star and spread that turquoise over the white shell and this helmet improves immensely. That brings me to the good. The turquoise color is good. Using the skin of the copperhead snake for the center stripe is really good. The contrast of the helmet is good, but this one gets a frustrating 33 out of 70 overall. The Hamilton Tiger Cat's indigenous alternate comes in at number 14. The Tiger Cat does what the BC Lion doesn't do. It acts. It leaps at you. The indigenous version tries to incorporate some heritage artistic notes into the logo, but they get completely lost in the logo and actually detract from the crispness of the pouncing cat. 33 out of 70. The classic Hamilton Tiger Cat's helmet gets a 33 out of 70 for all of the reasons as the indigenous version, but wins the tiebreaker to come in at number 13. The CFL expanded to Las Vegas with the Posse in 94 and 95. The helmet reminds me of the Denver Gold helmets of the 80s USFL. Similar to that one, this design is very easy to see and read, but lacks motion, which makes it a bit boring to me. 34 out of 70. The CFL's Montreal team became the Concords for a few seasons, from 82 through 85. My 11th place rank is based on the dark blue helmet they wore in 82, which I prefer to the white version they ended up with. I like the way the stylized M is set inside the football-shaped frame. Something about the M feels very French, or perhaps French-Canadian, and that helps elevate this helmet rating to a 35 out of 70. Only 10 more left! At number 10, we have the CFL Classic, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. As boring as this may seem to some, and I admit that it lacks any sense of movement or motion, what it lacks, it makes up for in clarity. These colors go so well together, and that bold W is easy to see even from the cheap seats. As a lifelong Minnesota Vikings fan, the Bud Grant connection has a positive influence on this rating. 36 out of 70. In ninth, we have the indigenous alt design for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. These lose a little bit in the contrast category, but improve in uniqueness. 37 out of 70. I included 4 different versions from the CFL's Edmonton team in my rankings. This one is the current Edmonton Elks helmet. Not a fan of the packery yellow and green, but the double E is super clear and evokes forward motion. This one gets a 37 out of 70. Also getting a 37 out of 70 is the Edmonton helmet from when they were known as the Eskimos for 62 years. These double E's graced the great Warren Moon's noggin way before his Minnesota Vikings days. Classic design, bummer color scheme. 6th place goes to the Edmonton Elks indigenous version. The logo is one of my favorites from any league, but it lacks contrast compared to the other Edmonton helmets. The great unique design lifts this one to a 40 out of 70. 5th place goes to the Birmingham Barracudas of 1995. I really like the colors on this one, and the way the Barracuda lurks in the depths ready to lash out at its prey, and I also think the way it wraps around the back of the helmet provides an elusive quality. That tension gives it a kinetic energy. 45 out of 70 for the Cudas. In 4th place, we have the Elks of 2021. They used 2 designs that year, and I like them both. The elk head outline is such a classic design that it begs to be the Elk's official watermark, while the elk horns bring the helmet to life and deliver in legibility and contrast. I'd love to see both of these as dark brown logos on a meadow green helmet to set the elk in its natural setting. As is, they get a 46 out of 70. The current Toronto Argonauts helmet gets the number 3 spot. Check out helmethistory.com for the many varieties Toronto has used over the years. Too many to cover, but the current one is my favorite of the bunch. A gorgeous light blue shell with a football ship surging forward with the thrust of those oars and the billowing wind behind the sail, which also links back to the team's history. The Argos get 47 out of 70. The Stampeders of Calgary get the number 2 position. This one has a lot going for it. Great contrast and legibility, a logo that delivers a sense of speed and forward motion, and an unmistakable, simple and classic brand. That beautiful crisp red dome with the galloping steed stamped on the side add up to a 49 out of 70. Finally, we reach the top of the CFL rankings where the Calgary Stampeders' indigenous design resides. It has all the qualities of that beautiful base helmet with a few added bonuses, like the symmetrical zigzag native pattern on the center stripe and the horse painted literally by hand the same way Native Americans have for centuries. Yep, this is the top CFL helmet, netting a 50 out of 70. Tell me in the comments which CFL helmet is your favorite. Check out my alt helmet ranking playlist to see how I rank the helmets of other alt football leagues. Click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more alt football content. This is Royce with Viking Wax Press and the Alternative Football Network. God is good, y'all. Take care.